Welcome into the Fantasy Foolery podcast. It is myself, the Barefoot Golf Analyst, and I got Matthew, the AD Plugi here, with Kenny Gardner, the champion of the Dynasty League. And then we have Ben Gonzalez also. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Doing great.
Doing all right, man.
It has been a long time since we talked. Kenny, you moved to a different state.
That's right. I was missing your time zone, so I figured I'd jump in.
It makes scheduling a lot easier, that's for sure.
Yeah, we might actually be able to get done before midnight.
That's right.
Can't be any worse than some of the other times we've done this. It's been a fun year, though, guys, right? We had a really fun year. So let's go over what we happened in the Dynasty League. Well, we had that first quill. What did you guys learn from that? Let's start with you, Matt.
Well, I think it was impressive to me, obviously, coming in as a new player, taking over a team with not much in the way of fantasy assets, but everybody else was going for it. And so it gave me, obviously, an opportunity to stockpile probably more first-round picks than I actually needed, but it was good. And just a lot of different assets, kind of tear the team down and kind of start from scratch, moving forward into this year and next year, and hopefully be competitive in the next couple of years. So it was fun to watch a lot of the teams kind of really lean into trying to win the bigger pot. And Ben obviously was more competitive than I'd expected him to be. So
that's the interesting thing about how 3 really good draft picks can turn a season around. And that's the value of either hitting on late rounders or just those surefire, like the first 3 or 4, 5 picks that the NFL knows are going to work, and everybody knows in fantasy they're going to work. Whether that's been Breece Hall from a couple years ago, Bijan and Gibbs last year, it's just the value of those first picks are really high, which is why I'm still very upset that Matt has a stranglehold on the top 2 picks for this year.
It actually shocked me how much people were willing to give up for what they got back in value for picks. I think that was what I was like, dang, people are going for it, and they are not afraid to just kind of sacrifice the next few years to just maybe hit 1 year's worth of winning. So I was like, dang, people are going all in.
Shout out Chris.
Chris, man, he could do it again this year, but man, he gave up everything.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a perfect year for Matt to assume the team that he did that was totally garbage. Like he would, like Matt said, he would not have had the buying power had he joined this year or the year previous to last year.
Yeah, rebuilding teams, you could just feel it. Draft picks meant nothing. I think there was a lot of prestige winning that first quill too. People, not just the money, but they wanted the title of winning that first championship, so everybody was going for it. But we know Kenny won. Congratulations, Kenny. So do you want to have your speech now? Or what would you like to say?
It was actually funny. I was gonna say something really funny, and then I was like, nah. And then I just messaged it because Chris always, I don't know, he probably hates me. He gives me such a hard. So I sent out shout out to Daniel Jones and Chris for getting here. Where'd you be without that? But no, it was fun. I mean, I actually thought Jeff was gonna win. I will be honest with you. Look at those points he had, man. He had some huge weeks, and those boom bust teams, if they boom in the right time, I was a little worried. I was like, all right, I already told him, I was like, you're in. But yeah, it worked out. I'm grateful, but it was fun. It was a fun year to kind of like go all in. But no, this year will be good. And my team's gonna slowly go down, and I don't think it'll peak back up for a while after the next few years. We'll see what happens.
You got the championship. That's all that matters. So we want to give some participation trophies because we're millennials, right? So we want to make sure we get something in there. So we got some superlatives here for the managers. We had everybody kind of vote who they thought the most efficient manager was. Who did you guys think the most efficient manager is? Did you guys look at the show doc yet?
It was really weird to watch. I was interested in watching that to see like how good people were. I don't know, it was just interesting. I had never seen that metric.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was cool to see the season total. So Kenny and Ben were both at 89% of what they could have total points wise from their bench, which is pretty good. And then Nathaniel and Matt also tied at 86. And then my dad, rest in peace. No, just kidding. You have to leave. I'm just kidding. He's got 86 too, and then Andrew 82, and I was at 84. Granted, I didn't score any points, so who cares?
Shout out, hold on, real quick on the efficiency thing. I just want to
Yeah.
shout out Anthony for having the most efficient week of all time. I don't know if you guys, obviously on the podcast, guys, you can't see this, but this, I took a screenshot of this because he had 108% of his possible total points. I don't know how he did it. I really don't. I screenshotted it. Made no sense.
Is that the game he beat you in?
Maybe, I don't know, but it was just like it boggled my mind because I was like, how do you have more total points than your max total points? I don't know, but somehow
Because I gave him that
it.
speech. I won 110%, guys.
110%. They only gave you 108.
We were, they were short.
That off.
Started smashing watermelons.
Oh man.
Did it Sean Payton bring in like the whole like wheelbarrow of cash? That's what I did. I said, if we lose this game, guys.
The thing on the efficiency that stands out is with both Kenny and Jeff, their benches are so deep that efficiency actually makes sense to them being really good managers. Like my bench is awful and it's so thin. So that's why my 89%'s up there, because I just started the players I actually could start. But that's not the case with deeper teams. So shout out to Jeff and Kenny.
That was interesting to see as like team diversity and how some of the teams had a lot of like the same caliber players through their team. And I was like trying to manage that looks so much harder for some of the teams. Cause I was even looking, who was it? Was it Andrews? Andrew had a bunch of players who could like have a big week and they have the name, they have the talent. And I'm like, oh man, that looked so exhausting on his team. Because I was like, he's going to have to guess every week.
That can be hard. All right. So we also said we asked anybody how many trades were completed in the 2023 year. Everybody came in with guesses between 70 and 90. They were way short, way under. We had 132 trades from the beginning of last year to the end of before the trade deadline, and I counted every single one. It was pretty brutal. It's pretty hard to go through some of those trades. The person who traded the least but still had 6 was Chris, which I was proud of him. He had 6.
He's too busy turning down all of Kenny's trades sight unseen.
That's right. That's why my numbers just.
And then Kenny had 7 trades. Ben had 11. Jeff had 12. Matt came in with 15. And Andrew had 25. And he had about 17 before the season started last year. And he was way ahead of everybody else. And then Nathaniel had 26, and there was about 6 trades between Andrew and Nathaniel where they traded the same players, I think 3 times back and forth between each other. And I couldn't comprehend who was on which team going through all of them. They're like, Hopkins got traded like 8 times between the 2 of them at one point. And then
the benefit of living together does for you.
That's true. I don't
just talk about that all day, every day.
I think Nathaniel was still in Alabama at that point.
Oh,
but,
just wait till this year.
Exactly.
I think there's an interesting debate for trading on the margins, right? Because it's like, so much of that is, who you think is gonna, hit, who's not. And then, but I don't know. Like I think it's interesting when you're trading guys to get other guys that may or may not hit either. And it's like, I don't know. That's always an interesting one to me.
Yeah, I think the other thing that you can see with this list is that everybody has a trade embargo against Kenny. We all understand that we can't.
It's because he's offering like Hawkinson and somebody for the number 1 and 2 pay. Like, come on, Kenny.
Hold on. Let's pull up Hawkinson's. Hawkinson is hated, man. He's like top 5 tight end easy, and people hate that guy. He pulls it off every year, and I'm like, why do people? I'll keep him. I don't care. He's elite. I'm like, keep going.
Yeah, keep him in your IR spot for another 9 months.
Well, yeah, that's if you're rebuilding, he's a great piece.
That's hilarious.
Anyway.
But I got the same trade, Matt, sorry. Same trade. And then I came in most with the 30 trades, and that's because my team just Dynasty Nerds is right. I messed everything up, so I had to restart over. And so I had about 15 trades before the season started, and then I just tore it down to the nubs, and I traded everybody, and I was like involved in every single trade from them on for the rest of the year.
The shocking thing is, with all these trades, none of us completed a 3-team deal.
No, there was one.
There was one.
There was one. It was me, Matt, and Chris.
Man, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, I thought the same thing there, Ben.
I think it was like McLaurin. It was before the season started. I don't know. It was McLaurin and some first.
That was a good deal
in
for
there.
me, actually. I got a lot out of that, and I only gave up McLaurin, I think, was it. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was not a great year for me. It's okay. And the manager, the biggest trade still, some votes came in. What did you guys think the biggest trade still was?
I'm Matt. I bet as bad as that was. I mean, it's tough because Akers' position was like, but you turned Pollard into so much. I'm like, you can't. There's nothing even close to that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, like I said in the chat, I mean, I was kind of surprised. Like, I mean, I hadn't even like realized how much I got for Pollard. I mean, like I said, I didn't even get that much for Brees. You know, with the like looking back, like whoever got Brees, like that was a steal in comparison. There you go, Kenny.
Yeah.
And oh boy. So yeah, that was oh man. But yeah, I would kind of agree with you. I didn't want to toot my own horn, but I would agree.
That was good.
Kenny was like the guy who goes to the garage sale really early, and everybody's setting up, and they don't know what to have, and they're all disorganized. So he tried to get a really good deal out of you. That's what he did, Matt, because he said you got that trade in like 10 minutes after you started. So
Yeah, dude, I was so fast to that because I knew he was gonna rebuild. I knew it, and I was like, he's gonna come in and destroy this team. So I'll come in fast and I got kind of lucky, but yeah, Matt killed.
I had an offer into Ed. What was his name? Who had Fred?
Fred.
For Brees Hall. I was like the second round pick and Alvin Kamara or whoever I had, like my top running back, or not the second round, the number 2 pick. And he's like, I don't know, man, I don't know. And then Kenny comes in with like a way cheaper trade. I'm like, I should have just hit Matt up before.
Fred, I'm surprised Fred didn't drop Brees Hall because he dropped Kenneth Walker. So
I'm still mad about that.
That was bad.
And Jake London. He dropped Jake London.
Oh yeah, drop Jake London.
Oh man. Stop talking. I'm crying on the inside already. It's fine.
But hey, I think Matt's potential is by far the highest.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's gonna wreck us in 3 years, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's gonna kill us.
Yeah, he's got the picks for sure. All right, so we got the biggest draft day still. So we got votes came in for the people. Everybody kind of said Nathaniel drafted Puka in the 5th. Granted, he had to drop him, and then Chris picked him up. So I don't know who you want to give the credit to on that one. What do you guys think the biggest draft day still was?
I mean, I would concur. Like, as far as the draft goes, he was. But then again, can you give him a lot of credit? Because I mean, nobody knew what he was going to be, right?
Yeah.
Dropped him, and then he got picked up, and then he got dropped again, and then he got picked up, and then finally, so it's.
Yeah, I think I had him for a minute on my team too, before the season started, and I dropped him.
Yeah,
killed him.
The tank pick was great too. I mean, that's the tough part. Is I think the tank one obviously was a more solidified. Like, oh, that was just a good pick and it stuck. But, yeah. Cool.
I don't remember.
Anthony, and even the long-term benefit of having Tank versus Puka, we don't know what the situation with the quarterback for the Rams will be in 2 years.
It's gonna be interesting. I traded him in my other league because I was like nervous, but I'm also like I could look back and just be like, why did I do that? So
yeah.
Well, he had that same kind of injury that Pollard did, so I'm wondering if that's going to inhibit him this year with that tib-fib break, right? And he had surgery on it, and Pollard's explosion was nowhere near what it was the year before. All right, so we'll go to the last one, the manager of the year, and we got some votes in. I had one vote for Nathaniel, which was himself. I'm going to call you out, Nathaniel. He voted for himself. And then Andrew, well, I guess I should keep these. Doesn't matter. Unanimous. 3 votes vote for Ben. So looks like Ben got manager of the year. I don't know what you guys think. I'm not going to vote for Ben, so I'll vote for Matt. What about
I think Matt did really well too.
Yeah.
Matt was for me. Is it actually Matt or Jeff? I felt like his team was so good. His team was so good. He just got but I was Matt for me.
Well, Jeff really built his team over the past couple of years. He was using his old man wisdom to lay the groundwork.
It's a good trade.
I appreciate the 3 votes I got from those other guys for.
Yeah.
For the Tyford Manager of the Year.
Pat Tyford Manager of the Year. Co-Manager of the Year. Congratulations,
There you
guys.
go.
Let's move
It was
on to
a
the
fun
Keeper
year.
League.
Yeah.
All right, it was a
Go
fun year. I really enjoyed it. It was fun, even though I sucked the entire year. It's okay. My wife asked me, since you put all this time into it, are you ever going to win? I was like, probably not. Probably not.
That's not what it's about, you know. Like,
Exactly. Probably not. Probably not.
I'm kidding. That is definitely what it's about. That's the only reason I'm here.
Well, I literally had to convince my wife. When I won, I was like, just so you know, like, I actually did it. Like, I won. And I'm nervous because if I don't win for like 8 years, I'm actually like, where's all our money?
Where's all those winnings that you said you're going to reinvest?
The high risk investment. High risk investment.
That's
How many diapers did you buy with all that winning?
Yeah, gosh.
But no, I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah.
This upcoming year. Michael's already got a big lead on the trades.
Mike came in hard.
Savvy guy. He's just desperate for trades because our other league's at a standstill.
Yeah, our other league is at a huge stalemate. So coming into this league has been nice to have him come in and start trading again.
Is it a 10 league? 10-person league?
The 10s are harder because people have less resources
Mm-hmm.
outside of their draft picks. And that league, people really, really like. Everyone values their players higher than typically the average. And so it just gets tight. Like the 106, I'm like, I'm not going to give up 2 elite players to get a maybe player at the 106. It's like, man, people are tight in that league, so it doesn't move too much.
All right, well, we'll move to the Keeper League. We'll give this champion Andrew. He came in strong. He pulled it out over Ben in the championship game.
Just a dud of a game. Look at that, 70-82.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
What a great.
That's a rough one. But he won. He won. I'll fully admit I made many mistakes with this league officially. I gave, is it Michael? I think I gave Michael the championship this year.
Yes, you did.
He's gonna crush everybody.
Kill everybody.
I was like, okay, so hopefully everybody stays through this year. I think we fixed it, but this year could be a little over, a little dicey.
We should offer him a buyout.
There we go. What if we do it like how the Dodgers did for Ohtani, where we like give him like half his money this year,
the deferred payment, and then just
give the rest of the payment to the runner-up.
Yeah, exactly. We'll try
Just to
that
get in
way.
there.
Yeah, but congrats, Andrew. Winning Dennis's hard. And some luck, a lot of skill. Congratulations.
Yeah, the other thing too on that is like it goes to show that buying a championship doesn't always result in you actually buying the championship. Like I sold out Puka for Pat Mahomes, and that didn't give me what I wanted because Pat Mahomes knows when to turn it up, and that's when the playoffs start. Not the last 2 weeks of the season.
We'll go over more of the Keeper League in future episodes, kind of go over keepers and stuff like that. But we'll start with our next segment. We'll go over we'll bring back Hoax hyperventilating, talk about some new faces and new places, and see what you guys think. Kenny, what are your thoughts on Marquise Hollywood Brown going to the Chiefs on a 1 year, like $12 million deal, I think?
Something like that. Was it 12 or 10 or?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, so now that this Rashee Rice case that keeps expanding, we'll see. But man, I was looking at Hollywood, and I looked at all of his metrics for the past, like, what has he been, 5 years in the league, and he hasn't finished above like 22 once, and he's finished outside of the top 32 a bunch of times, or the top 36. And I'm like, I just am at the point where I'm like, he's 27. On the field, everyone knows he's great, but I'm like, he just is not a fantasy producer to me. And I'm like, he could go to Patrick Mahomes, and I'm still not going to buy him. So that doesn't, I think I'm just kind of in the middle where I'm like, he might outproduce, but like, I'm not touching him just because I've seen his track record with, Kyler's not a bad quarterback, and he did good with him for a short window, and then they weren't together. But then you also had him with Lamar, who, not an elite thrower, but like good enough that I'm like, you should have had higher than a top 30 season with him. So I don't know. I have a hard time with Hollywood.
Matt, do you have any other ideas?
I mean, I think he's worth a flyer if you can get him cheap, but yeah, I wouldn't pay a high exorbitant price for him. I'm also keeping my eye on the Rice case, obviously with him on my roster and in Dynasty. I'm looking at how that's going to turn out. Hopefully, get that squared away and he stops making dumb decisions. I think Hollywood's worth a flyer if you can get him cheap, but otherwise I would not. Yeah, I wouldn't give up a lot for him.
I'm actually a little bit higher on him. I think that the two things, just kind of looking at his numbers, his average depth target has always been below 10. His targets have never really been above 110, except for that one Lamar MVP year at 146, 91 catches. His drop rate's really the most concerning thing. I mean, he catches no more than 65% of his passes, which is crazy. But who's been throwing him the ball? Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Whoever that guy without the eyebrows is that everybody's already forgotten about from Arizona. Now he's got Patrick Mahomes. The other thing too is with Kyler and with Lamar, he has been able to learn how to play with an off-script quarterback, which is what Patrick Mahomes does.
That's true.
And they script up a lot of short passes, but they also have a lot of deep level crosses or post routes, deep crosses that I think might increase the productivity that Hollywood's had compared to his historical data. So I think there's maybe a diamond in the rough there. I kind of like it. And if he can kind of prove, it's a 1-year prove it deal. If he proves it, it's either going to open up more opportunities for him there or open up better opportunities on a better team.
Just what the Chiefs need is another wide receiver dropping passes.
He will blend in if he does that, yes.
I mean, you got Andy Reid, right? And Patrick Mahomes. And I think it really depends on if what do you think Kelsey has left? Because in the season, everybody thought he looked kind of slower. In the postseason, he turned it back on just like Mahomes did. So if there's more targets to go around, I don't know. It's hard not to trust.
Well, I haven't watched the Chiefs because I own Mahomes in a couple leagues. Is that when Kelsey is the only option, he's getting bracketed with safety on the top.
Yeah.
Safety help over the top. But when Rashee Rice started turning that on, especially in the playoffs, who started turning it up? Because the defense couldn't just triple team Kelsey the whole time.
Yeah. They had to start going. So that coverage, though. I mean, is he going to pull enough off? I think this is where I think I'm stuck. Is I'm like, I don't know how much is he going to be MVS? Just another one.
No.
Yeah.
And he's way more talented than MVS, though.
That's
thing. That'd be interesting to see if they draft a wide receiver too.
I mean, that's what they're doing, right? First or second round, been drafted for receiver. Okay. Final verdict: hoax, hyperventilating.
Yeah, I'll just go hoax for me.
I don't know. If hype's in the middle, I'm kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Same. That's what I go with too.
Yeah, I'm probably in the middle too. I can't. It's hard. Not a real good podcast to have no hot takes on that, but it's kind of where I'm at. All right. Return of the King, King Henry, going to Baltimore. He's 30 years old, but he's an animal. He's like Optimus Prime, right? We love him going to Baltimore. Plenty of touchdowns. They don't have the tush push there. Gus Edwards was a fantasy relevant running back because of touchdowns last year. So Ben, what are your expectations for Mr. Henry himself?
I really like it just for the reasons you were saying there. They do feed the running back, especially in the 20 and the gold zone there. And I think the other thing too is the past 2 seasons they've been pulling rushing responsibilities away from Lamar. And so who's going to handle that load? Henry handled that load last season. Still, he had a lot of carries. So I think even though he wasn't as efficient, he was facing a stacked box because their quarterback was terrible.
And their offense was horrendous.
Will mayonnaise Levi's.
Hey, don't talk bad about my boy, man. Leave it. Levis is gonna come in strong.
Yeah.
He can't see the blitz, but he's gonna be okay.
1 5 touchdown game, and everybody's just exactly crown him.
Bananarama, come to the rescue. All right, Matt. What about you?
I love the move for next season. I really, really do. Obviously, I think over the next couple of years, he's had a heavy workload. He's getting older. Like I think it's gonna start breaking down. But I think for next year, I think he's gonna have a really, really big season. I mean, that's what Baltimore does is they run the ball, and that's what Henry's done his entire career is run the ball. So I love the fit. I love the match. And as long as he stays healthy this year, I think he's gonna have a massive year.
Agreed. I mean,
Yeah,
So you look at his yards per attempt, they haven't dropped off since 2020. Like they've been 4.3, 4.4, 4.2. Like that's
he's a league leader in carries last year. I think he's going to slot right in there, offload Lamar a little bit. I think that team is going to be a lot better having Henry, just because Lamar's going to be able to be much more versatile. I think they're going to be dangerous on offense this year.
that's my only concern is defensively they got worse this offseason.
That's true.
They draft really well defensively, so I don't want to like draw a hard line in the sand saying they're going to be terrible, but they did lose a lot of talent defensively to where who knows if they're going to have the opportunities to run the rock as much as they have in the past.
With Tannehill, did Henry do a lot of those zone reads and RPOs? Because I'm just wondering if that fits his running style. Because I know if you get a good full set steam ahead, he's hard to take down. So if that helps him.
They did a lot of under the center because of that, but
yeah,
he can handle RPOs.
Yeah.
It's not his forte, but
yeah,
I think it'll be okay.
I think it's gonna help him. I think it's gonna be great. So what do you guys think, Matt? Hoax,
I'm
hyperventilating?
I'm gonna go hyperventilating on that one.
Yeah,
that's a great move to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hyperventilating. I think 18 touchdowns. He's on my team, so. All right, another guy on my team. I did make the show, doc, so whatever. Curtis Samuel. He's only 28. He seems like he's been in the league for a long time. Carolina, Washington for the last 3 years, and he's going back to Joe Brady, who seems to love this guy. And this is right now their only receiver in Buffalo, which does not sound very smart to me. I'm assuming they're going to draft somebody, which we'll talk about later on. But what are you guys' expectations for Curtis this year? Kenny?
He's going to be interesting. His versatility is huge. And their team, I feel like their offense is pretty dynamic. His is tough for me because I'm like, he's a kind of a gadget guy. But you look at what he did last season, and he was like getting 12 targets a game every once in a while. And you're like, man, I just don't even know. And now that when Diggs left, I'm like, that target share being distributed, like he's going to totally be viable. Is it going to be if they draft someone or trade for someone, like how high are they going to be able to go to get someone else? If not, I mean, he's going to be super valuable. He's good enough to handle that. So I think you have to wait post-draft. I think we'll know.
I don't know. I'm maybe a little biased, but I'm just not a big Curtis Samuel guy. I mean, obviously, like Kenny said, with him getting, if he is the top target there, he gets a lot of targets and he probably puts up some fantasy numbers, which is, good for the owners. I just, I don't love that for Buffalo as a team, having him be one of your top dudes. So, but from a fantasy perspective, I mean, I think it could be good. As Kenny said, I think it depends on, what they do in the draft, if they have any other trades prior to the season to shore up their receiver room.
I'm interested to hear what you have to say on this one, so don't skip over it because I offered him to you in a trade. You stewed over it for a week. He was kind of the added bait, and I added him in there because I think he's really good. He was a flex player, and with us having so many flex spots, he was super valuable for me just to throw in there when somebody was injured, just knowing I'm going to get a good 8 to 10 points out of this guy, which can push you over the edge some weeks. And I think that's what he had with Sam Howell. So now he's got Josh Allen. And the only other target getter on that team right now is Kincaid, who I think is the big winner from this trade. But still, Curtis Samuel with Joe Brady was really successful. I see a lot of path to success here. The other thing is Allen is getting older. He is a beast.
Like
that doesn't mean they're going to want to keep him running with the same amount of designed runs that he has for much longer. So being a safety valve for Allen that he was for much lesser quarterbacks, I think is going to be a good thing.
I know that we made that trade, right? So I got Richardson, and then you got the Houston quarterback Stroud, and so everybody was pretty pumped. I was pumped because I thought Sam is going to be the number one, maybe number two, even if they draft somebody. My question is, do you think Cincinnati would trade Higgins to Buffalo?
It just doesn't seem like it makes sense football-wise, but what they're doing with their cap is digging themselves out of the hole they put themselves in. So they're in a retool year where they're trying to make the playoffs but not try to win the division, kind of like what the Buccaneers did last year.
Yeah.
And so I don't see them going after a big-name guy. I'd be shocked if they did.
What's their draft capital look like? Because that's a concern.
20.
Is I haven't followed that too much, but how they'll get a guy and they're not going to be able to pay him. They have some cap issues that they're going to run into. So, but they just opened up a little bit, so maybe it's enough to get a guy. I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, they have like $33 million in dead cap from that deal with Stephon Diggs.
Oh, so bad.
They have I think the 24th pick, which is a good spot for one of those second-tier wide receivers if they go after them, which it makes sense for them to go for somebody in the first or second round.
Yeah. So for me, I want to be hyperventilating, but I don't know. I think I'm just in the hype right now. We'll see how the draft goes and how the offseason or the preseason goes and see how they're connecting. If they're using him kind of like how they used their running back, I'm blanking on the name.
Singletary.
No, it's not Singletary. The other guy.
Cook, the one that's still there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Cook. How they use
good.
Cook in those swing routes and stuff like that. It's gonna be good. I think I'm just in the middle. I will see how it goes. What about you guys?
I'm hype. Oh wait, so this is for.
Yeah, I'd say hype for me.
I'm gonna go Hoax.
Hoax. All right, that's a little hot. All right, let's go Stephon Diggs. Right, he's 30. He just got traded. I don't think he's good anymore. They're wide receivers that are like that. They fall off the cliff fast, and to me, I just don't think he's that good. And there's a reason Buffalo is eating $33 million in dead cap. That's a lot of money to say I'd rather you not be on my team. But I could be wrong. I don't think it's going to hurt Stroud. I think Collins is actually a buy low candidate right now because everybody's going to think Collins is low. I think Collins is going to be still good, and Tank Dell is going to be good as long as his explosion's there. Ben, do you have any other opinions on that?
Yeah, I think if you look at his 2019 year where he had 94 targets, he still had over 1,000 yards. He still had a really successful win rate getting into the end zone. So I think that's a good metric to look at.
I think.
And the thing that hyped him up is he was 26 at that time. Now he's 31. So, I could still slate him in for 1,000 yards. That offense moves the ball with middle of the field passes, which is his bread and butter. I think that Tank is going to take a while to recover and bounce back. So it's really Nico and Stephon Diggs that are going to eat a lot early on.
I don't think Diggs hits 1,000 yards this year.
Mm.
I'm actually with you. I think he's going to be in the 900s. I think he's going to just miss 1,000. Yeah.
I mean, it took him 160 targets last year to hit 1180, and he's not going to get 160 targets in Houston. So,
they basically froze him out of the offense for the past 7 games of the season.
It was such a
really weird thing.
Yeah.
The thing for me on him is I think my concern with Diggs is he obviously has terrible teamwork, and he's not a good locker room guy. So you combine that with, look at the Texans defense. They beefed up their defense. So their offense it's not that it's going to slow down, but you have Mixon coming in who can pass catch. Now you have 3 receivers and Schultz is back. So you have a lot of mouths to feed, a stronger defense. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if there's enough volume for Diggs to do. I mean, his name's going to slowly fade. I think he's going to, fade into the distance here, age 30, that little cliff, and then just maybe get 1 year or 2 more a deal and then just disappear.
It might be a similar situation to what we saw with OBJ going to the Browns.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's a lot of hype behind the opportunity with a young quarterback, but they had Njoku and Landry to feed there, and Kareem Hunt, and Nick Chubb. So I think that he's going to have flashes in the pan. It might be that it works out like I was saying earlier, but I think Kenny kind of hit on something there.
Hey, Matt, I got a question. So just as a pure passer, do you think that Stroud is better pure passer than Allen?
I'm gonna go with yes, which is kind of a big thing, but I do think so. I think Allen creates a lot. And I think that's one of the things that makes him so dynamic. Not to say that Stroud can't, but from what I saw last year, he really impressed me. I mean, I spent a lot of time being upset that you were able to draft him before I could. So
yeah, it still hurts.
I spent the whole year not watching Texans highlights because I drafted Anthony Richardson instead. I watched one game because they played the Saints, and that was it because I was so disappointed.
He's so good.
Yeah, I spent 45 minutes tonight. I got the trade with Anthony, just staying up till like midnight watching CJ Stroud highlights that I missed out on.
I spent 7 days on that trade. 7 days.
I feel like the question wasn't worded right. What about Josh Allen's first year as a passer versus CJ Stroud's first year as a passer?
No.
Did you see his metrics at first? So bad.
So bad.
I'm shocked he stayed in the NFL after that. I was like, oh my gosh.
Now everybody uses that as an example. Well, you could see he can improve. Well, there's not everybody's Josh Allen.
Yeah, very few people are Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Oliver. And that's their Anthony Richardson question, right? Can he Josh Allen his way into some crazy relevance?
Oh yeah. I don't know.
He's got the potential, that's for sure.
He's got the high end potential. I'm hoping more for Lamar Jackson. Like Josh Allen I think he's a unicorn type of thing. I think Lamar Jackson is an inaccurate quarterback who I wouldn't really want on my team if I was rooting for that team, but on your fantasy team, yes.
The comp that I always hung on to is Cam Newton.
Yeah.
He's big like Josh Allen. He's big like Cam Newton. He's athletic. Yeah. He's not sudden like Jamar.
Lamar. No, Lamar. Yeah, that's a good point. He can be like Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, that's like top end. Anything else you guys got to add? Seems like we're all kind of on the lower end of Stephon. Anybody else higher? All right, guys, that's good. Well, we're going to roll right into our controversy rookie section here. We're just going to go over a couple, one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver that people have been talking about and they have different opinions on. The first one we're going to go over is Drake May, not the Duke quarterback, the North Carolina quarterback. Put that wrong in the show doc, guys, and they gave me a hard time. So what is your opening thoughts on Mr. Drake May there, Kenny?
Yeah, it was funny. I was looking at your I read what you were, I was like, that sounds about right. And everyone hates the whole Daniel Jones situation in our league, but I think he will be better than Daniel Jones, but I don't know by how much. He does seem like he has a couple more things that Daniel Jones doesn't. It just depends on landing spot. I mean, you kind of know he's probably going to go second, which, okay, that could actually work out better because the Giants are so awful and they had no receivers. Well, I'm looking at, you look at what Sam Howell was able to do for Washington at least, and they have McLaurin and Dotson, and they at least have some people. So I'm like, I think he can do it. Yeah, he worries me a little, but man, he could easily outperform Caleb Williams, and it wouldn't actually surprise me because he can run so well. It's the legs. I mean, that's how you win in this league.
Ben?
I actually really like him. I think the missed passes you saw were when things kind of got crazy in the pocket or when he's getting out of structure. Sometimes he made magic happen out of structure, but sometimes he didn't. But he fit a lot of balls into small windows. And I think that is not an indication of somebody who doesn't have good accuracy. I think it is an indication he's got good accuracy when he's got a good pocket. So I think the best comp for him passing wise would be a good season of Derek Carr. But then you add the running game into it, which Derek Carr doesn't have. So I really like the comp to a pre-MVP level Aaron Rodgers as his ceiling. Obviously, his floor is it can bottom out just like everybody else. But before Aaron Rodgers got really good, before he got Devontae Adams, he was a gunslinger. He could operate perfectly out of a clean pocket. He could run the ball. He was really good, but he wasn't MVP Aaron Rodgers yet. I think that is kind of his ceiling, which is a good ceiling. Like I think he was a perennial playoff quarterback at that point.
He does have that ceiling. I should have been clear. He does have that ceiling of doing some real stuff, but
I think, like Kenny said, if he goes to Washington, I like him. If he goes to New England, I don't know that I touch him. So I think that, his location is one of the, I mean, obviously location's important for all rookie quarterbacks, but I think for him in particular, if he doesn't have much around him, I think it's going to look really, really rough. Because like Ben said, he's got really good ball placement. I don't know if that's the same as accuracy necessarily, but he puts the ball, he has the ability to put the ball in the perfect spot. But I think sometimes, and we saw that last year, just watching some of his college tape, is he thinks that he can put it in a spot that he can't. And then, that's where he had a lot of his picks. And in the NFL, the windows are smaller, right? Like, like stuff looks like it's there and it's not, because those guys are quicker and more athletic. So, again, I do like him if he goes to Washington. I think he's a good, I think he's a good pick. I think he's got a chance to do stuff because he does have that athleticism. He picks up so many first downs on third down, just scrambling and making something happen to get across the sticks. Yeah, I would say location based for him.
I think we have a 2-decade recency bias with the Patriots. They have historically been terrible at drafting any other quarterback besides Tom Brady or any good wide receiver, but that was the past GM, his choices, his coaching, his inability to produce really good players at those positions. And if Jared Mayo and his team can't do that, they're going to have a short leash. So, and I know that can ruin a quarterback's lifespan in the NFL, but it's still, it's a big question mark. It's not really a negative. It's a question mark that could be a negative for some people, for sure.
What's a negative with a high draft pick in fantasy?
Me personally, I think he has Daniel Jones written all over him. I don't see anything when I don't claim to be. I don't see anything. I claim to be. I don't claim to be a quarterback guru, so I'll watch YouTube videos of like Kurt Warner or whatever these quarterback gurus, and they'll talk about him. And the first thing they say, he's sneaky athletic. Okay, so he's white and he can run. All right, so that's the first thing they always say. I don't know why we still use that term, but we still do. And he's a long throwing motion, which historically in the NFL doesn't usually work. It seems like his offense was like a pure progression. He wasn't really reading defenses too much. And he has a great arm. He throws the ball deep well. Everybody's saying he's more Justin Herbert like attributes. I just think he's more Daniel Jones. And historically, none of these quarterbacks are going to hit. I mean, if they're good, what is it, like 7 out of the last 40 quarterbacks drafted have been home runs? It's not, I mean, if they're a solid result, then that's probably good. I would say he's probably going to be a mixed result over the end and probably get a couple coaches fired. So anything else you guys want to add on him? I haven't projected in most mock drafts at 3 to the Patriots, like Matt said and Ben said. And we just don't know in this right now. If it's, without Bill Belichick there, we don't know what their culture is and how's that's going to work out. We'll move on to the running back. We're going to talk about Blake Corum, University of Michigan national champion. I surprisingly like Blake. I think he's good. He's not great. He's not like Breece Hall or, he's not going to set the world on fire. I just think he's going to be a running back coach's trust. And for us in fantasy, we don't have any control over who gets the ball. We just have to try to play who has the ball. And I think they're going to trust him to be on the field, to pass block, and to do the right decision, hit the hole, get 4 yards, maybe, 4 to 6 yards. And he's not going to hit home runs, but I think he's going to be a solid back who gets points like an RB2. Matt, do you have anything on that?
Not really. I don't think any of these running backs this year are going to be anything more than committee backs. I mean, obviously, Ben got the two big running backs last year, and yeah, there's just nobody like that this year. So I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying about him, being a trustworthy kind of solid dude. He seems like he's pretty cerebral. He knows what he's doing. He can pass block, so he'll probably see the field. But yeah, I think all these guys are committee guys, and so it's going to be tough to get a lot of consistent fantasy production out of him.
Yeah, it's tough because some of those guys that are, you have you have the Alexander Madisons who are not fast. They look great, and then all of a sudden they get out there and you're like, oh, just like Matt said, like, yeah, great complimentary back to just kind of get a few touches and move the ball down the field, step in when the lead back's out. But I do like him. I think he's for where he is, like his skills, he's actually a good player. It's just I don't know if he's going to be able to. He probably won't have 25 carries and 6 catches in a game, but he'll be splitting out with someone. But I mean, he could find a path to relevance. Just it's again, landing spot is just so vital, and then draft pick position. If he's taken early second, all of a sudden I'm interested because now he's drafted high enough that a team says, "Hey, you're going to be a big part of our team." But he's drafted, third day, something like that. You're like, all right.
I think he reminds me a lot of Doug Martin. He's real short in stature.
Yeah.
He's real tough. The other thing, he reminds me of Mark Ingram too. Watching a lot of Mark as a Saints fan.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
He's small. He's shifty at the line, but he doesn't have breakaway speed. So he can get to the second level. He's not going to break tackles at the second level, or blow by people. But he will get you. He has the potential to get an 8-yard carry. Yeah. And I think that's what teams like and see. He's good in pass pro. He's a capable pass catching back. So I think on the Chargers or on the Cowboys, he could be a 3-down back. On a lot of other running back needy teams, he'll be a committee guy, and it just depends on landing spot. But I think he could be worth that 9, 10, 11, 12 pick if he ends up in one of those good landing spots because of those skills he has.
As a Cowboy fan, we need a running back. I wouldn't mind him in the second round. Wouldn't mind that at all. But
there's definitely people you'd want more than him because of the potential they have.
Yeah, exactly.
But he is like somebody who can be worthwhile and start as a running back for you.
Exactly. Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's not gonna sell the farm, but if you see the farm, if you see it there, you're gonna pick him up. Anything else?
What's crazy to me is he ran a 4.440, and this doesn't show up on tape.
No, that does not. He reminds me of Wisconsin. It seemed like a Wisconsin back to me, like Melvin Gordon. Those guys. Monte Ball.
Melvin Gordon was so much faster. Like he was football fast.
Yeah, he was fast.
He looks slow to me on the field, but maybe because it's an older version of him.
Melvin Gordon does, or Blake Corum?
Oh, Blake Corum does, yeah.
Oh yeah, Blake Corum looks like his feet are heavy.
Yeah,
his feet are really heavy.
He's got that trailer.
The trailer.
While I was playing baseball, my grandpa would yell at me, "Unhitch the trailer, Anthony! Unhitch the trailer!" All right, let's go back. Let's go to this guy, man. Xavier Legette, South Carolina 5th-year senior, who basically was MIA for 4 years, and then showed up on his senior and just started dominating. Had less than 200 yards his first 4 years in the college, and then just blew up. And everything analytically tells you to hate this guy. But if you watch some of that stuff and how he high points the ball and how he looks kind of like DK Metcalf, it's hard not to want to take him. In mocks, I have him going to the Bills late in that first round since after they traded Stephon, and then early second to the Panthers, which I would hate because I'm totally out on Bryce Young, or mid-second to the Giants, which is interesting. But any kind of first round or second round capital you'll be excited about. So what are you guys' initial impressions on that, Matt?
I think that if there's anybody that is grateful for COVID, it is this dude right there, because he would have been in the draft last year. I mean, like, he probably would have been in the draft last year. I mean, shoot, like, and then he goes like this year and gets to go. So you know, like, yeah, talk about raising your stock over one season. Like he's a big dude, and I don't know. It's tough when you've got a guy that, yeah, like how seriously can you take that one season? Like is that the dude that he actually is, or was that just a confluence of events that came together for him to excel for 1 year? Like I'm not sure. Like he's a big dude. Um, I'm not sure if I would obviously put him in that upper tier of receivers in the draft, but I think you could make an argument for him in that second tier of some of those other guys with Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, those dudes. So
Kenny, if you're at 109 and the top 4 guys have been taken, or say top 3, 4, are you looking at him?
He's in that range. There's like 5 guys right there that I'm like, ugh. Depending on landing spot, I think is just where I'm honestly like haven't positioned many of them because I'm like, there's some freaks. I mean, he ran a 4.39. Like,
no,
huge guy. He has great I'm like, how does he not succeed? And then you look at his, you look at his breakout ages and you look at his history and you're like, what? Like, how did you not force your way onto the field and just dominate? And it's, it's almost like he gained 20 pounds his senior year and grew 3 inches and then all of a sudden trained his agility and he was super fast. You're like, I don't know, man. He is tough. He's probably one of the hardest for me to judge because you're like a 5th year, then you destroy these kids, but you also are huge. Like, it's not like you did it on accident. I don't know. He's a tough one for me. I honestly don't even know for him. If he gets drafted end of 2nd, I'd be like, okay. If he gets drafted end of 1st, I'd be like, okay. Like, I just don't know for him. Team loves him. They take him. I'm like, oh, I'm in. I don't know. He's a tough one for me.
Anthony's asking for himself because he's got the number 9 pick.
Asking for a friend. I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that 5th year breakout is better than having a 3rd year breakout and then 2 terrible seasons after that.
Yeah.
I'd much rather his breakout be closer to his draft. The other answer to that, why he struggled, is he just learned the position as a freshman. Like, he came in as a quarterback and transitioned to wide receiver as a freshman. And so the dude doesn't know how to run routes. He doesn't know how to catch balls. And then who's throwing him the ball for 4 years? Not Spencer Rattler. We don't even know the guy, right? Because he's irrelevant. So I think that's the reality is he gets himself refined. He stays in school, gets a good quarterback, and then we see this. He blows up. And I think the speed that transitions onto tape is something that you don't see with a lot of guys. And I think the other thing too, with him spending that much time working on his craft as wide receiver, the comps to Decaf as a rookie out of Ole Miss or as a senior out of Ole Miss versus Xavier Legette. Legette's actually more refined than DK was in his ability to run different routes. So I think if you liked DK, or if you liked AJ Brown in those rookie seasons, and they weren't like your top tier talent in those drafts, then you'll like this guy. And I think he has a high likelihood of turning out to be those guys. I'd definitely take him with even the 4th pick. If you were in a single QB draft, I'm like, it would be a shock and people would roast you, but you might come out with a superstar, a wide receiver 1.
I like him. I think he's good. There's 2 things. I'm kind of old school, right? I like that he stayed at South Carolina. He didn't transfer. He stayed there even though he wasn't doing anything. He got better. Somebody said, one of the persons I was listening to is like, well, is he like a contract guy who just works hard when he wants to get paid? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm sure those South Carolina guys were getting paid all 4 years, so I didn't really think that was too much. And I just think he's good. I think he's strong. If he goes to a good coach that uses him correctly, I think he could be fantastic. He wasn't he clocked at like 24 miles an hour on the field? One of those crazy
23.
23. That is ridiculous, man. And so I think it translates. That's a big
decaf
man.
speed. That's DK
Yeah.
Metcalf speed.
It is.
Chasing down
Oh.
Buddha.
Yeah.
And so I think they did use him a lot in screens. I didn't see too many intermediate routes. It was long and short. But hopefully he, like he says, he refines that route tree, and I think he could be really, really good. But we'll cross our fingers, I guess, right?
The other thing too that we are not talking about is playing the SEC at 5th year. It's not like he played the 5th year in the Pac-12. You know, he played that
What
5th
Pac-12?
year.
There's no
Pac-2.
Pac-12.
The Pac-2.
No, the Pac-2. The Pac-2. He's playing against Georgia cornerbacks and safeties. Playing against Alabama quarterbacks and safeties. Like that
And they're all
says a
NFL.
lot.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good. And like I think the biggest thing is they got a new quarterback, Spencer Rattler. And Spencer Rattler's not going to be a top end quarterback. He might get drafted right 4th, 5th round.
Yeah.
But better quarterback. Maybe it's a new coach came in. Something clicked, and he's also a returner too. So that adds with the new changes in the NFL. He might give you some sneaky, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns in the year. That could be.
Yeah.
That's doable, right? Maybe 1 touchdown, kickoff return.
I would not want to tackle him in the kick returns.
Oh, gosh.
I'm so excited.
Everything we just said goes out the window if he gets drafted to the Panthers. So
Yeah. All right, we're almost done. Anybody still with us? Thank you guys for your patronage. All right, spicy hot take. My spicy. Let's go with Matt first. We'll go with Matt. What's your spicy hot take to finish us off?
Okay,
We got this.
Spicy hot take. Brian Thomas gets drafted by either the Patriots or the Bengals and is the top rookie wide receiver.
Whoa,
Oh,
Wow.
jeez.
that is a hot take.
Over Marvin Harrison and Odunze
and Neighbors.
and Neighbors.
That is a hot
Overall, or just this year?
Just this year, top rookie wide receiver, and that's it.
Top rookie.
Not the best career, but I
Okay,
think
He's gonna hit the touchdowns. Are you going touchdowns for him?
I'm going touchdowns, and that's why I said Patriots or Bengals, because I think, location too. So
target
we'll
share.
see.
Yeah. My hot take is that Jaden Daniels will have a better rookie season than Lamar Jackson, no matter where he goes.
Oh, man, that's a good one. Well, but Lamar Jackson, didn't he set his first rookie year? You mean his
No.
second? His
Whatever his first year was, did he set his?
Yeah, because he set for some of his rookie year. With what's his name there? You mean his sophomore year, right?
I'm pulling up his sport tag, pro football reference stats here. I guess he sat for half the year. So yeah, his sophomore year, 2019.
That's a good one.
I think he's going to have Lamar threw for 36 touchdowns. I think he'll throw for at least 30 touchdowns, and I think he's going to run for another 10 to 12.
You think he'll hit 30?
Yeah, dude,
Man.
he threw the
take.
heck out of the ball at that school.
Who are you taking? Would you say you were taking this year in the draft? I think Chris Godwin's going to end up outscoring Mike Evans this year. I think I went this way because I was looking at. I mean, first off, Godwin, he gets more targets.
That is a hot take.
It is a hot take, and here's why. Hear me out. The odds are low. Don't get me wrong. I would still draft Evans over Godwin, but I was looking at because they're going to shift him back into the slot, and that was when he had his best year was in the slot, and Evans is going to be 31, I think, this next year. So he's in Godwin's 28 or something like that. Age-wise, I was like, Godwin's still in a time where he's like in his prime. Evans is leaving his prime. And I was looking at just kind of like, okay, I don't think their offense is going to be as efficient this year. So there might be either less touchdowns. I don't know. Ultimately, what it came down to was I think Evans is going to see a drop in touchdowns and a slight drop in yardage. And I think Godwin's going to see an increase in touchdowns and an increase in catches. And I think he'll beat him out by like 1 or 2 slots. I think it's going to be pretty dang close, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm going to probably be way off. Evans is going to finish number 1 and make me look stupid or something, but
Yeah, he's so good.
he's so
I'm so
good.
bummed he's still in Tampa Bay as a Saints fan. I just wanted to get rid of him.
He is destructive, and that's a problem. I know Evans is just like, he's an amazing football player. That's my worry. And Godwin is great, but he's not Evans talent-wise. I just think that their team is going to start to see some changes this next year, just because they're not good enough. Like, they're good. That's about it. I will maybe, and I think they're going to see some changes, and I think Godwin is going to benefit from that. But let's see.
All right. For mine, I think there's only one franchise quarterback in this draft, and it's not Caleb Williams. I think Michael Penix will have a better career than Caleb Williams will.
Dang.
That's mine.
Kenny, do you want to give a rookie hot take?
Was I supposed to give a rookie hot take?
You can get whatever. I just figure people are doing the rookie drafts.
You guys all did rookie. I think you want my rookie one. I actually do have one. Well, let me make sure I don't mess this up. It's Xavier Worthy, right? Is the other one
Texas?
Yeah, the fast dude. Yeah.
That's what I don't think he finishes in the top 36 at all in his career.
He's MVS.
He is gonna MVS John Ross. He's just gonna be that
Make a lot.
2 big games every year for like 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, and that's it. And I think he's gonna just. I'm not touching
Both
it.
those Texas wide receivers have so many question marks, and I wonder if it's because it's Quinn Ewers. Like, I don't know. I'm so miffed by both of them.
You'll make a lot of money.
Since Kenny went off script, I'm going to go off script with another hot take, and that's that Patrick Mahomes will not be a top 10 quarterback this year.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I offered Chris a second for him too.
You should have dropped it to third after the Rice news.
All right, guys, that was a good one. I think we got back into it. It was a little rusty at the beginning, but I think we're getting into it. We'll try to have a little more better schedule this year and not miss out in 8 months. Thanks, guys, for joining. Everybody stay foolish, and we'll see you later.